Hey everybody, guess what we're going to talk about today? We're talking about this company. And yep, they're doing it again. Thanks for joining us back here at Dave & Will's Guitar. I really appreciate it. And if you want to subscribe, do that. That'd be cool. Anyway, let's get into it. So Fender is at it yet again. They went after the companies, I believe it was a Chinese or Indonesian company making S-style guitars in Europe, and they won that decision and because the other company didn't show up to court. So it was just voted for in Fender's favor. And now it's come to America, which I had predicted as a legal precedent that was set from the last time that this was done, that we would see something again here in America. And it looks like we get to do this all over again because we get to talk about Fender trying to essentially monopolize the market. Now, I know if you're a diehard Fender fan, you're probably thinking, well, they should, it's their guitar, they designed it. Mwah. I don't care. It doesn't make any damn difference to me that they designed this guitar 70 years ago because that was the allotted time for them to file any kind of copyright or trademark claim that they never did. You snooze, you lose essentially. And now what's going to happen, assuming they win or if anything like that happens, it's going to punish us because now we'll only have one brand to buy this style guitar. Now, if you're a diehard, consumerist and you're thinking like, well, they invented it. They should have all this, power and authority. They should have. 70 years ago, I would agree with that. I could see the lining there. But even still, I'm not so married to the idea that certain body shapes that should be copied or at least copyrighted or trademarked. Now, things like a flying V or, wild guitars that have like all kinds of very unique styles, I get it. Those are like definitely more artistically designed and not in terms of comfort. A flying V is notably a guitar that is not easy to play sitting down. There are some that are more comfortable than others, but that is not essentially what that design is for. It is designed to look nice. The S-style, I will argue, is a tool. This is a very comfortable body shape because it has a forearm bevel, comfort carves in the back, and Fender doesn't even do it right. Look at this dumb heel joint. This thing sucks. Frankly, it's garbage. There's other companies doing it better than Fender, and we know that's the truth. John Suhr, this was on Phil McKnight's this little podcast he does, his giant podcast, I should say, every Friday. He talked about this very thing. He said that John Suhr had intimated at one point that, if Fender was doing it the right way, he'd be out of business. And I absolutely believe that's true. I don't think Fender is making the best Strats. They're making a lot of Strats, but they're not making the best Strats because there would be no competition if these other companies weren't able to compete at other price points. Frankly, if you buy a Suhr guitar, like one of their S7, S10s, those are fantastic guitars. I think they meet all the qualifications of what you'd want in a Strat style guitar, but are different enough because they have better comfort carves, different appointments that just make them better guitars. It's just the truth. I can't argue that any other way other than you're getting more bang for your buck, you're getting a better dollar value. And if you want to change the sound, throw new pickups in it and boom, you've got yourself whatever guitar you find that I don't know, appeases your particular style or aesthetic, right? Fender makes good instruments. I'm not going to sit here and bash them and say they're making absolute garbage. They're not. They make some very good sounding instruments and their higher end instruments are good, but they still suffer from quality control. And as much as any other company, and maybe not as much as other companies, but they still have these problems. Fender is trying to corner the market, and given the particular climate in America for like political decisions and consumer protections, it's a lot different than in previous years, and I can see why they're doing it now. It makes sense. I don't want to get into the political side, so if you have comments or thoughts about that, put them in the comments. I probably won't talk about them because this is not that kind of channel. I'm not that interested in that particular part. But what I want to say is that the part that I am interested in is that there's going to be a problem for the consumer assuming that Fender gets the ability to just fully own the body shape. And at this point, they're saying it's an artistic design, right? And not a tool, because they already lost the part where they lost the first decision that said that, this was their design and, this is not, it wasn't necessarily an iconic thing. It was a tool they designed that they said couldn't be copyrighted. And I don't know all the legal language, but that is from what I've read and what I've heard, that is what I've been led to believe. So do I have absolute perfect knowledge of the law? I don't. I'm not a lawyer. So take that with a grain of salt. You can go read the decision for yourself. All I know is that if they do own this body shape, we will not have a good time. And if they were making great instruments at very reasonable price points, I probably wouldn't have an issue with this, but that's not the case. Frankly, it's not the case. There's many other brands, budget-friendly to mid-tier to even high-tier guitars that all kind of either compete or out-compete Fender in a lot of ways. So, guys, I don't know. Would I say boycott Fender? I don't know. If they take this to court, I would. I mean, I own one, right? We have one here, but I won't be buying one anytime in the future. I just don't think it's, honestly, even if they didn't win or if they stopped pursuing this decision, I still don't think I would go and buy a Fender. I'm just not interested in giving money to a company that really doesn't have the end user or the musician in mind as their, that's their goal, to serve the musician. I don't think that's in their best interest. It's held by a holding company out of, I believe, Hawaii, or I forget. I mean, it's not like a privately owned business even anymore. This is a conglomeration of people that, have private equity in Fender, and they just want to make money, man. That's really what it is. Now, you can say that, oh, but what about the craftsmanship? Sure, like the custom shop and the master built stuff, yeah, there probably is some very high quality, and well-qualified craftsmen making those instruments. But those dudes on the floor, they're no different than any other service worker. And I'm not trying to be mean. I think they do a good job. I'm not saying they do a bad job, but it's not some boutique crafted instrument that you're gonna get with Suhr or Anderson or Zodek or Nags or any of the other styles of guitars that you find at boutique brands. Those people are making $20 to $25 an hour. That is the average salary for someone at Gibson or, out of Corona, California, or, are they in Corona, California? I believe they are. Wherever they're located in California, they are in California. Those folks, they're making as much, very close to what a Guitar Center employee makes. Think about that for a minute. A Guitar Center employee is making very close, probably in California too. If you think about the service worker in a shop, or in the workshop, sanding these bodies, painting them, leveling the frets, whatnot, they're making the same amount of money. Would you trust a Guitar Center employee to make your guitar? Would you? Well, essentially that's what they think the value of their work is worth. And I don't know, take that for what it is. I just don't think, I'll be honest, if I was getting paid $20 an hour, and that's about $40,000 a year, am I concerned with making you the absolute best instrument I could? I'm just not. It's not enough money to make me want to do the most absolute best job I could. Now, you may think I'm a giant a-hole for saying that, but that's just the reality of it, man. If you're a boutique builder and you're a honest to goodness, like qualified craftsman that's been doing this for many, many years, decades, whatever, I would assume that your salary commands more than $20 a year, or $20 an hour, and $40,000 a year. But you're thinking, well, they're making, more budget-friendly instruments. They're not. If they're made in California, they're over $1,000. You're gonna pay a premium. Now, granted, that is American labor and it costs more, right? There's, hopefully they're offering him health insurance and things like that. I don't know. I would imagine so if they're a full-time employee, but I'm not sure. But ultimately, there's a difference. There's a difference between what you get when you pay someone $40,000 a year for workmanship, and there's a difference between what you get for someone who's making like a very high-end brand and getting paid a lot more. That's just the reality of life. So, I don't know. I hope that Fender, I would like to see these other companies win. I hope this is just something to like stir the pot a little bit and get people like excited about guitars or whatever, or I don't know. But I hope they do not win this decision. I hope whatever decision is made, or I hope they don't go out and try to, I think some of the language was like, they have to destroy all they want to have all the copies of their guitars destroyed, and fines paid if they aren't recovered or, returned from wherever, whatever shops they're at, et cetera, et cetera. I just hope none of that happens. It will only hurt the consumers. Now, I know there's some holdovers that will say like, these people, maybe this would give rise to a more innovative design. I don't think so. I'd be hard pressed to see a design or a body shape that is more comfortable than a Strat, just in general. Now, yes, you can make the horn a little larger or smaller, but whatever. I mean, what we're really talking about is certain things that make a guitar feel good when you play it. You're gonna have a curve here for your leg if you're sitting down. You're gonna have a forearm bevel here if you're gonna rest your arm on the side of the body, which everyone does. I mean, there's no one who's playing like this necessarily. Okay, there's this outlier. There's one guy out there, and I know he's like, I don't play like that, but for the rest of us who play like, everyone else, that is not the case. So, I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't care for it. I don't like it. I don't think it's important for Fender to pursue this. You know, what I would really like them to spend their money rather than a legal team, pay your employees better, make better instruments, offer stuff with like stainless steel frets so they don't ever need to be refretted, offer things that like sound great and play great. You know what I would really, here, you want to spend money to make a great quality instrument, make me want to buy one, give me a guitar that is set up before I get it. Pay people in your shop to fully set up your guitar in the best playing condition you can get it and sell it. I think PRS is doing that. I went to Guitar Center 2 weeks ago and I picked up a bunch of different guitars. I love doing it. I'll just go grab ones off the wall. I will say without a doubt, the PRS brands, not that they're better, but they are more playable. There's more consistency in the setup between all the different PRSs I play than any other brand. And now granted, I'm not picking up a ton of brands, but I'll pick up some Gibsons, I'll pick up some Epiphones, I'll pick up some Fenders, I'll pick up some PRSs, maybe an LTD or whatever, but I will say that the PRSs are the most consistent amongst different models and how they feel and play. I would love to see that in other brands. It would make me excited. It would make me conceivably thinking about buying, a Fender or, now, I get it. You're like, but you can pay someone to do that. I don't want to pay someone to do it. I could do it myself too, and I do set up all my guitars, but I find it much more enjoyable when I have a lot less work to do in that regard than more work to do. And I know that you can say like, well, some people prefer higher actions and stuff. Okay, sure, but most people like to play, I'll tell you what, most people that play guitar, they want an action of 2 millimeters off the low E to 4 millimeters off the high E, or lower. They don't want it higher. So why does when I pick up a guitar that's higher than that, why would anyone be okay with that? No one ever really wants that. At least the majority of us don't. Oh man, I know it's a mouthful, it's a lot to say, and I know I'm kind of stirring the pot here. If you guys think Fender's doing a good thing, if you think that they're like, this is something that should be protected, let me know. I have my doubts. You've heard my opinion. But if I'm totally wrong, if I'm a more, and I'm open to criticism, I could be convinced the other way. If you guys have a really stellar argument about why I'm wrong, I'd be more than happy to hear it. I'm not, so hard-nosed that I couldn't change my mind, but I haven't found a reason to change my mind yet. In conclusion, I think this is just another company trying to muscle out competition any way they can to corner the market because, guitars in the industry, it's pretty competitive. And ultimately, these instruments are not complicated. 25.5-inch scale Lake, it's on a ton of guitars, 24.75, ton of guitars. The way frets are, the length between the body, the action, they're all very, very similar. Guitars are more similar than they are different. And I think we know what we want. And I would hope that, companies are out there are allowed to compete and give us things that we desire. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining. And if you have any opinions, let me know. I'm happy to hear it. Thanks.